demand for a commodity implies the various units of the commodity which are offered for sale in the market at various possible prices. And this demand is given at a particular point of time. In this chapter, we shall be discussing three different approaches to analyze the behavior of the consumer. The first one is cardinal theory. By cardinal, we imply that utility can be measured numerically in terms of money. And by utility, we mean the want satisfying power of the commodity. A commodity is said to have utility when it is capable of satisfying the wants of the consumers. Utility has nothing to do with moral or ethical values. When we discuss the concept of utility, we assume that the consumer is rational. By rationality, we mean the consumer wants to maximize the utility, and accordingly, the consumer spends his income on different available commodities at given prices of the commodities. The second assumption of the cardinal utility theory is taste and preferences are given, and the total utility of the consumer depends on the quantity of consumption. Generally, when consumer consumes more quantity of a commodity, consumer gets more utility from the consumption. The third assumption is the commodities under considerations are assumed to be good. That means they give positive satisfaction or utility to the consumer. And the fourth assumption is marginal utility of the commodity is assumed to be diminishing. And this implies as we consume more and more units of the commodity, the consumer gets lesser and lesser utility from the consumption of every additional unit of the commodity, provided all these units are homogeneous and the consumption process is continuous. The implication is marginal utility curve is downward sloping. The fifth assumption is utility is measured numerically in terms of money, though this assumption is unrealistic. The sixth assumption is marginal utility of money is assumed to be constant. It means every single rupee gives same utility to the consumer. That means if you suppose start earning money and you receive the salary of 50,000 rupees at the end of the month, whether you are spending the first rupee when you are having too much money, or at the end of the next month when you are left with only few rupees, every rupee is going to give you the same utility. Figure 1.1, which is before you, shows the equilibrium of the consumer, where marginal utility curve is downward sloping. Price of the commodity is shown by horizontal line parallel to x-axis. The point where these two curves intersect each other, we get the equilibrium. Marginal utility is what you get when you consume a commodity. Price is the sacrifice in terms of money. When sacrifice in terms of money is same as the gain in terms of utility, the consumer is in equilibrium. Before equilibrium, marginal utility is more, but price is less. So process of consumption will not stop. After equilibrium, that is after consumption of OX star units of the commodity, price will be greater than the marginal utility. So there will be less loss to the consumer. So consumer will not consume beyond the equilibrium point. We have now indifference curve and revealed preference approaches. Indifference curve approach and revealed preference approach have the assumption of ordinal utility, which implies that utility cannot be measured in numerical terms, but we can have ranks and preferences. Under indifference curve approach, consumer will be in equilibrium when indifference curve touches the budget line. Budget line is showing the income constraint of the consumer, and indifference curve shows the satisfaction level of the consumer. The point where budget line and indifference curve touch each other shows the maximum satisfaction which the consumer can get with a given income. We shall learn more about this approach in subsequent topics. Revealed preference approach is a modern approach developed by Samuelson. It shows that choice of the consumer reveals the preference. Given the budget constraint, consumer chooses the budget bundle, which is the best one for which utility will maximize. We will again learn more about these concepts. We start with the indifference curve approach. The indifference curve approach is again based on the assumption that consumer is rational and this consumer wants to maximize the utility subject to the budget constraint. Here utility function u is assumed to be the function of x1 and x2, which imply the quantity consumed of the two commodities respectively. There are certain assumptions of the indifference curve approach. The first one is consumer's choice is reflexive. This implies any one commodity bundle may be indifferent to another commodity bundle. That means there is a possibility of indifference or same level of utility between the various commodity bundles. And when this happens, consumer cannot prefer or consumer would not prefer any one particular commodity bundle over the other. That means all combinations of the two commodities are giving same level of satisfaction to the consumer. We have second concept, consumer's choice is complete. Here we imply that consumer's choice is consistent or comparable, and this choice is assumed to be transitive, and this implies if between three combinations of bundles, if consumer is indifferent between x1 and x2 and between x2 and x3, consumer will also be indifferent between x1 and x3. We have the next concept of continuity. Here consumer's preference relation is assumed to be continuous. That means there will be infinite preferences of the consumers, all such preferences giving the same satisfaction to the consumer. We have next concept of non-satiation or non-saturation, and that means consumer is never fully satisfied. Whatever commodities or commodity bundles consumer is consuming, he will or she will always think of consuming more. That means more is preferred to less. More is considered to be better. This happens because goods are considered as good. That means they are giving positive utilities or satisfaction to the consumer. So in case there are two combinations A and B, then A is greater than B would imply A is preferred to B. Next concept is convexity. Consumer choice is strictly convex. That means indifference curve is convex to the origin. And the reason for the convexity is diminishing marginal rate of substitution. That means as consumer goes on sacrificing one commodity for the other, he or she is prepared to give up lesser and lesser units of one commodity for every additional unit gain of other commodity. Next concept is selfishness. Consumer is assumed to be selfish. His or her choice is not guided by any other consumer. It is rather self-guided. If you look at figure number 1.2, you will find that we can divide this figure into 4 parts. In the first part, we are having more of everything, more of both the commodities. So all such combinations lying in the first part will be preferred to any point lying on the indifference curve. In part 3, consumer is having less of both. So every such combination is inferior to the combinations lying on the indifference curve. In second and fourth part, consumer may have more of one commodity and less of the other. And some of such combinations will be lying on the indifference curve, showing same satisfaction to the consumer. So all points lying on the indifference curve provide same level of satisfaction to the consumer. There are few properties of indifference curve. The first property has been depicted in figure number 1.3. This shows that higher indifference curve give more satisfaction than the lower one. When you compare point A and E, we find at point A, we are having more units of commodity shown on the vertical axis, but same consumption of the commodity shown on the x-axis. So A and E, both points lying on a vertical line, A point is better than E, and since A, B, C all lie on the same indifference curve, so all such points are better than point E. Well, student, we all know that E is only one point on indifference curve IC. B is one such point on indifference curve IC with greater utility. So when A is giving more utility than E, B and C will also give more utility than E. So we find higher indifference curve IC within bracket U1 is giving more satisfaction in comparison to indifference curve IC with utility U0. The second property of indifference curve is indifference curve can never cut each other. We assume this property to be contradicted. We are assuming these two indifference curves are cutting each other at point C. Here we will find that B and C give same satisfaction because both are lying on lower indifference curve. We also find C and A giving same satisfaction to the consumer because both lying on same indifference curve IC U1, but this will imply that A and B will give same satisfaction to the consumer, but this is not correct. If you look at this diagram, you will find at point A, consumer is consuming more of commodity shown on x-axis. So A will give more satisfaction than B. So we can prove this property by contradiction that indifference curve can never intersect each other. We have equilibrium under indifference curve approach. The budget line of the consumer is mathematically expressed as P1x1 plus P2x2 less than equal to M. P1 and P2 are the prices of two commodities X1 and X2. M is the total income. Consumer cannot go beyond the budget, so P1x1 plus P2x2 is less than equal to M. The budget line has been drawn. We are also drawing the indifference curve of the consumer, which is a function of consumption of two commodities X1 and X2. Objective of consumer is to maximize the utility. This is possible by selecting a point which is giving highest possible satisfaction. Any point on IC3 is not within the reach of the consumer, and any point lying on a curve below IC2 will be giving lesser satisfaction to the consumer. So consumer equilibrium will be at point D where highest possible indifference curve touches the given budget line. So we can say for equilibrium, budget line should touch the indifference curve. That means both should have the same slope. Slope of the budget line is P1 upon P2, the price ratios of the two commodities. The slope of indifference curve is MRS, marginal rate of substitution. So both should be the same. And the second condition is marginal rate of substitution should be declining. Now we'll discuss the concept of income and substitution effect. Whenever price falls, demand of the commodity rises due to two effects. One is substitution effect. That means commodity becomes relatively cheaper whose price has declined. So consumer will substitute this commodity for relatively expensive one. But consumer will remain on the same indifference curve. So we are showing this by writing dxi upon dpi u bar. U bar means utility does not change. Only price ratio has changed. That means price of one commodity has declined. Second effect is income effect. When price of a commodity declines, the real income of the consumer rises. And this also persuades the consumer to purchase more of the commodity under question. We have original budget line AB and consumer is in equilibrium at point E0. When price of X1 declines, the budget line rotates along X-axis, but there is no change along Y-axis. Consumer shifts to point E1. The movement from E0 to E1 is price effect. This is divided into two parts, substitution and income effect. The movement from E0 to E1 dash is substitution effect, where consumer remains on the same indifference curve. The utility or satisfaction level doesn't change. Consumer purchases more of relatively cheaper commodity. And the movement from E1 dash to E1 shows income effect. The consumer purchases more of relatively cheaper commodity, and also because of increased purchasing power, consumer moves to higher indifference curve. The demand curve shown by substitution effect is also called compensated demand curve, where consumer is able to maintain the same utility or satisfaction level. Now I discuss second unit, theory of demand. When you attend any function or party in modern life, you will find the revealed preference theory becomes more important than the indifference curve theory. That means the consumer is not interested in identifying various combinations of commodity giving same satisfaction. Rather, the consumer is choosing a particular combination over all other available combinations. Suppose before you comes numerous choices, numerous fruit juices in different glasses. The moment you pick up a particular glass, that means you have revealed the preference towards that particular flavor of juice over all other available. This theory is called as revealed preference theory. In the case of indifference curve theory, we are basically dealing with weak ordering theory. Weak ordering means all combinations are giving same preferences. That means all combinations are giving same utilities to the consumer. Consumer is indifferent. Consumer is not able to identify a particular combination better than the other one. So this is weak ordering. But in the case of revealed preference theory, without drawing any curve, the choice of the consumer reveals the preference. So in figure 2.1, the budget line is having 2 points A and B. So as soon as consumer chooses a particular combination, say A, we will say this is definitely better than all other combinations available. And why this is better? Because combination like B2 is outside the reach of the consumer, which is beyond the budget line. And combination like B1, which is lying in the interior boundary of the budget line, is considered to be inferior. So consumer will definitely prefer A in comparison to B1. So that means all combinations lying in the interior boundary of the budget line have already been rejected by the consumer. And all combinations lying beyond the budget line are outside the reach of the consumer. So by choosing point A, consumer has revealed the preference for this combination over all other combinations. So this is how we find out equilibrium under revealed preference theory. Under revealed preference theory, when consumer chooses a particular combination of commodity, when the other combination is also available, then the consumer will not go for any other combination in other situation, provided the same was not available in the previous situation. For example, suppose today you are having both tea and coffee and you prefer tea, and next time when again tea and coffee are being offered and you prefer coffee, you will show inconsistency in your behavior. So apart from rationality of the consumer, we also assume consistency in the behavior of the consumer. So when both the commodities are available in both the situation, if consumer chooses one commodity in one situation, the consumer will not go for other commodity in other situation. If the other commodity was not available in the previous situation, the consumer may choose another commodity. But if both the commodities are available in both the situation, consumer will not change the choice. The precise meaning of the term that consumer is consistent in the choice. And we also assume that he spends entire income on the goods. He always remains on the budget line. For any given bundle, there is always a unique price income situation in which the consumer will be led to purchase that bundle. Further, for any given price income situation, there corresponds a unique commodity bundle that the consumer will purchase. Given the same income and price, consumer will purchase or choose the same bundle. In case the income or price is changed, the consumer may choose the bundle but not otherwise. This is the precise meaning of the term consistency under revealed preference approach. We explained the breakup of price effect between income and substitution effect. Under indifference curve approach, the same can be studied under revealed preference approach also, but this approach is applicable in the case of normal commodities only. The movement from Z to T will show the substitution effect. Both the combinations are lying on the same budget line. The movement from T to V will be income effect. So in case of income effect, we are moving on higher budget line, which is to the right of the previous one. So substitution effect is always negative, since consumer always substitute relatively cheaper commodity for the expensive one. Sometimes consumer has to make choice under risk. For this purpose, you must understand the difference between risk, uncertainty, and certainty. Uncertainty is that risk against which no insurance is possible. So that means there can be insurance for the risk, but there cannot be insurance for the uncertainty. Whenever we use the concept of risk, we use the concept of expected utility, we use the concept of probabilities, and we all know that sum of the probabilities is always equal to 1. And here we have formula for expected utility, where we are having two possible outcomes in the lottery. P implies probability that a particular outcome is there. 1 minus P means that outcome doesn't come. We are assuming that the events are mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. So expected utility function will be given by P multiplied by utility of A. And when we do not have A event, then B event will occur, whose probability will be 1 minus P. So expected utility will be P into UA plus 1 minus P into UB. When instead of wealth, we are using expected wealth formula is going to be similar, P into W1 plus 1 minus P into W2. So P implies probability that a particular event occurs, and 1 minus P means that doesn't happen. And accordingly, we have W1 and W2, the wealth level in the two different situations. Again, our assumption is the events are mutually exclusive and exhaustive. And we express price as a function of demand, rather than expressing demand as a function of price, we are actually having inverse function. So in the case of indirectly utility function also, we are having the inverse function. We now switch to the third unit, which will cover the recent developments in the demand theory. The theory of consumer surplus is one of the recent development in the demand theory. By consumer surplus, we mean the difference between what you are prepared to pay and what you actually pay. Suppose you go for a window shopping, you are ready to purchase a t-shirt for 500 rupees, but through negotiation or otherwise, you are able to get it for 400 rupees. 100 rupees will be your bonus. It is called as consumer surplus. So area of demand curve above the price level is called as the consumer surplus. Similarly, if you consider the utility function, so area under utility curve above the equilibrium price will give you the consumer surplus. We all know that according to law of diminishing marginal utility, consumer is prepared to pay more for the initial units, which are giving higher utilities or higher marginal utilities to the consumer. But for subsequent units, the consumer is prepared to pay lesser price. But every unit of the commodity is available at the same price. So the difference between what consumer is prepared to pay and what he actually pay would be consumer surplus. This consumer surplus can also be shown under indifference curve theory by the gap between two indifference curves. Here the consumer achieves a equilibrium at point D on indifference curve I2, and the consumer is unable to consume a particular quantity, and that is why she will be on a lower indifference curve at point A. So consumer would have to be given an increment of income equals to AB. only then the consumer will be able to reach higher indifference curve I2 in comparison to I1. This increment, called as compensating income variation, is also called as consumer surplus under indifference curve theory. In figure 3.3, the area of the triangle AP not B shows consumer surplus. So there are two different ways to show the consumer surplus. Meaning is the same. It is the difference between what consumer is prepared to pay, that is given by area under the demand curve, and the amount actually paid by the consumer, which is equal to OP naught B Q naught. So area of the triangle P naught AB will give us the value of consumer surplus. Next, we have the theory of intertemporal consumption. The consumption which consumers are changing over a period of time is called as intertemporal consumption. So far in the previous chapter, whatever we have discussed demand at a particular point of time. When we discuss it over a period of time and we try to maximize the utility subject to wealth constraint, the concept that is applicable is known as consumption over a period of time. That is the theory of intertemporal consumption. Please do remember that what we get as income today is not as important as what we got few years back. So similarly, the consumption that we are having today is more important than what we shall be having in the future. So we must make discounting for the same. We must make adjustment for the same by using appropriate formula which student must have studied in the 9th, 10th class, that is known as cumulative interest formula, or calculating amount A is equal to P within bracket 1 plus R raised to power n. So when we convert present into future, this is how the formula is being used. So in case we want to convert future into present, the formula would be P is equal to A divided by 1 plus R raised to power n. For first year, n will be equal to 1. So we have here x1 plus x2 divided by 1 plus R. x1 is the consumption today, there is no need to discount. x2 is the consumption you will be getting in the next year, so it will be discounted accordingly. So it will be divided by 1 plus R. So this is how you can compute the total wealth of the consumer. We have finally demand supply analysis. The point where demand and supply curve intersect each other give us the equilibrium. The corresponding equilibrium prices and quantities are OP naught and OQ naught, and there is no situation of excess demand or supply at this point. But if we are below this point of equilibrium, we are having excess demand, which will push up the price. We will again be back on the equilibrium point. Similarly, if producer decide to charge higher price, there will be excess supply. Automatic forces of demand and supply will work, and we will again be back to the equilibrium point. We have concept of cobweb model where we are showing the way in which we can attain equilibrium stability in several rounds on continuous basis. And in a way, a web is formed. So this equilibrium is dynamically stable. And how the equilibrium is restored, I have again told you. Suppose there is excess demand, the price will go down, rather it will go up. And if there is excess supply, then again price will go up, and this way the continuous process of stability will operate, and ultimately equilibrium will be restored. In case it is stable equilibrium, we will reach the point of equilibrium ultimately. If it is unstable equilibrium, we will keep on moving away and away from the equilibrium. If it is neutral equilibrium, we will keep on moving around the equilibrium point. So some adjustment because of time element involved have to be made.